First of all, sir, thank you so much for doing this. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm a bit stretched, but I'm fine.
Yeah. Before we go ahead, do you mind? I hate to start like this, but I think we should just do it and get it out of the way. So, do you mind addressing the viral video we saw like a few months ago, just briefly?
No. I can't because I'm still in court.
Okay. But looking back, do you have any regrets?
No. Everything is an experience. There's no regrets.
Okay. I want to talk about your experience in jail. Is it in jail or in prison? That was in detention, right?
Yeah, jail. I didn't go to prison.
Okay, sorry, in jail. Yeah. How was the experience like in there?
Well, it was something new to experience. I mean, to see how. Well, I thought that was the worst living conditions in Nigeria. But some of the people I met in the jail that have now been transferred to prison proper, been sending me the videos. So I think it's just, for me, it strengthens my resolve on my mission to bring dignity back to the existence of African people.
Of course. Because I think the reason why I bring it up is the fact that I think some people don't understand how life in jail is for those guys. I think I saw a video a few weeks ago how they were all cramped like sardines together. I don't know if you saw that video.
Yeah, I have live because I talk to boys from the jail, from the prison almost every day.
Yeah.
Most times they want help, they want this, So you see the conditions. This one is not even a good.
Yeah.
I didn't download most of it.
Can you send it to me, please? So just I will put it up. Find a way to put it up. Yeah.
So like we as human beings must fight for our humanity. We should not allow any group separate us from our humanity. Even in the contract of society, even those that end up becoming criminals have been failed by society. I mean, this has been scientifically proven. Nobody was born a criminal. It is circumstances of the failings of society that creates the criminal element. It is the scarcity of the system. I mean, as African people, we existed for thousands of years and didn't need prisons. So at least there was a social understanding that prevented people from being in such desperate situations that,
Yeah. I mean, obviously, when the museum, your great father's house, right? I also saw when what happened to you happened, or when that event happened, a video surfaced that's where we saw your dad being, to use the word, maltreated by the police. He even showed how he was beaten on his body and everything. So, being a small child then when that happened, and looking back now at what happened to you a few months ago, did that experience with the police, did it bring back some trauma? I don't know if you know what I mean. Like, did you like remember what happened to your dad, and you were like, oh, this is not happening to me again? The police that is meant to protect me, that are down against me. Like, I don't know if you get my point. They didn't allow you to see your wife for some days. She brought food for. They didn't let her to come in.
Well, I don't think there's as bad as people say I was treated in there. I was still one of the best treated people.
Yeah.
Not by the authorities, though, I have to say. Even in the cell they put me in, the prisoners made sure that at least they could give me as much comfort as they could afford.
Yeah.
It's true, as could be afforded inside the dungeon. They tried to make me comfortable,
Yeah.
So it is. I live with my family, not just me. I think my whole family. We have our own collective PTSD.
Yeah.
I mean, the first time I saw someone dead was when the cops shot someone in front of this house, right in front of this gate.
Wow.
I was about 8 or something.
Wow.
So it is, my relationship with the Nigerian police is the same as my relationship with any oppressive institution, And the fact that my daughter was even in the car meant that, she has learned a valuable lesson, that she stands up in the face of any kind of oppressive act or situation. Yes. That she doesn't cower, ultimately.
I think that's the issue. For me, that's the big deal when it comes to the Nigerian police, is that they see Nigerians as, one, we don't know our rights, and sometimes they even see us as being subhuman. We're not even human beings. And they treat us as if we are nothing, or we're just riffraff. They can talk to you anyhow, they can slap you, they can see your haircut, you look like a criminal. If you wear a nice chain, if you wear a wristwatch, if you have an iPhone.
This is because the Nigerian police as an institution is still a colonial institution. You must understand that the first police officer in Nigeria, the first military man in Nigeria, was employed to kill African people to protect the interests of Europeans. And when those Europeans left, they replaced themselves with their cronies, who became the new elites, the new whites of Africa. That's why as soon as the Igbo people left, all of them left their neighborhood and rushed into the houses they left behind on the island and in the Ikoyi, because they are our new lords. And they've kept the police rather intact in that manner. That the police is really about protecting them from us. The police is not about serving you or giving you security. I mean, it is evident, and as in with most institutions in Nigeria that are colonial, the more police you have, the less security we are experiencing as Nigerians.
That's the truth.
And just like the more schools we build, the more professors and lecturers and teachers we have, the less education, the more courts and judges and lawyers, the less justice. So it is because all our the more banks, the more poverty, because all our institutions are colonial and they still run in that colonial plan to extract from us and keep us deprived of basic needs. I think that is what the situation is.
I mean, speaking of experience, your father's experience, I mean, being Fela's son, it must come with a lot of pressure. But sometimes you feel like your dad is this, I mean, if I had to put it lightly, he's like a god to many people all over the world. I mean, I was in the UK, I remember this particular day I was at work, and I think it's a program on BBC, and they're talking about your father. So this is like 6 a.m. in the morning in UK, and they're talking about Fela Kuti, who died many years ago, and that legacy is still there. And so as his son, do you feel like his shoes sometimes may be too big for you? Like, you're, as if you're under his shadow. I don't know if you get my point. Like, he's this enigma or this massive figure that as his son, you feel a bit little. I don't know if you get where I'm coming from.
Well, Fela is how do I put it? Fela is the father of nations. Afrobeat is. I'm not even talking about Afrobeats, like what we do in pop music here. I'm saying Afrobeats, like big band music, as he created it that way, has inspired the world in so many ways that there are hundreds of bands, in the world that pledge allegiance to his spirit. I don't think my father ever gave us the feeling that we had to fill his shoes, But being Fela's son, I've always also understood that people are always going to see you through his lens. And I'm okay with that. Because my dad not only was he a great man, he was a good man. So even if people say I'm in his shadow, it's still a good place to be.
Of course. So can you let's switch gears and talk about the last election that happened. I mean, I watched your IG live a lot. I must say it's very inspiring, and I hope people can, whenever you're on live on IG, I hope people can tune in and listen, because I think what you're doing is you are awakening people's consciousness. I was speaking to my friend a friend of our friend downstairs that just came from Canada. He was like, I was telling him that it's funny how you can be in your house and somewhere in Lagos, and somewhere in the UK, somewhere in Canada, somewhere in America, someone is somewhere with their earphones listening to you speak, and something is happening to them within when you're speaking. You're doing something that can't really be described to their mind, to their consciousness. So you've spoken a lot about the election. What is your assessment of this last election that just happened, presidential, governorship elections?
I mean, it is still an elitist competition with no room for the people to truly represent themselves. I think the closest that the people had to representation in this election was the African Action Congress, the AAC, with Freire at the helm.
Of course.
I think this is a global thing, and it's because we, as a colonial offshoot of the nation, with our elite still completely aligned with the neo-colonial interest, they also buy into that game, the fascist game of the world. Because truly the world is a fascist place as we live today. But we are deceived that this fascism is democracy. Because everywhere in the world, the game that is played is this. Whether you're in America, you are in England, you are in Canada, you are in India, anywhere, except maybe China. Seriously, except maybe China.
Or Russia.
No, Russia, yeah. Russia is very steeped. Russia is neck and neck with America in the game. But the good thing about Russia is that Russia is more open to the game. If you look at Russia, you can even see the game clearer than looking at the United States, where they are insidious with the game. They try to really shield it like you are the one choosing something.
It's more indirect.
And when they now give you what they want to give you, they know that the world will not like it. They blame somebody else. It's Russia that puts Trump. We Americans are not racist. We don't like. How can we? It is not Americans that voted for Trump. It is the Russians. It is 100 Russians in a room with a laptop.
And their boats and everything. Russian boats.
It's not your racism that put Trump there. We heard. So what they do is, all the rich people in every country, they divide themselves into two groups: liberals, conservatives, in whatever name they call themselves. But what is bad in Africa is that we don't even have a liberal option. LP, conservative. APC, conservative. PDP, conservative. This ultra-religious, moral, strict, unmoving ideology, of capitalism and just give me, which it makes our own even more insidious. That is only the right that exists. There's no true left, And what they do, even in the countries that they divide themselves, these rich people into the right and the so-called left, which is really not a left, it's just another kind of right centrists, and they say, well, we disagree with each other, and then you get to pick from this same group of rich people, and they say you have an option, but it's only wealth and status that is represented, and the people are given the illusion of action while they are acting on behalf of the rich people in their country. And these rich people are not even truly divided, because they divide themselves in the political space where power has truly been devolved. Power no longer exists in the political space. It exists in the financial and economic spaces. It is the corporations that decide. And it is on the board of these corporations that all these elites are truly united. So even in our country, Nigeria, you find that many of the people in APC, PDP, LP are all board members of many companies together.
Of course.
And in this board, they don't argue, they don't fight. They work together for the betterment of themselves and their family. Then they come on the political space and act like they are divided. Whereas, and this is true about America, it is true about the United Kingdom, it is true about anywhere else.
Western societies,
because this is where they get their blueprints, blueprint from. So we the people truly don't have an option. And that is what I'm trying to create, and what Nigerians don't really understand, because also they are not class conscious. Nigerians believe that your existence is you are here to be rich, to make it and get comfort. Not that as African people, we are a conquered people and we are here to be free. We choose the lazy man's freedom, which is wealth. You're looking for money. So money can help you be free. But only to a certain extent, of course, as an African. Money cannot truly help us be free. There are so many rich African people today, but look at how we still exist. As rich as people like Dangote and your $10 and the Elumelus and all these people that are billionaires in Nigeria, what can they do to develop they can't even spend their money to develop their country. They cannot even invest in real institutions that uplift their people in a positive way.
Hospitals, schools, industries.
What I'm trying to say is they have no legacy. As rich as they are. So it shows that money can't really make you be free. If you are rich and you can't build a legacy, it means you are hindered one way or the other.
100%.
And it's also because they have programmed us as African people through the colonial education, to believe that our talent is only for us to chase money. We don't understand that our talents are given to us to develop our communities. We believe in investing our talent in other things that will enrich us. And I understand that. It is also the lazy way to see the world. And it's how they train us. You go to school, everywhere you go, that's how they train you. You are not a doctor because you are supposed to heal your nation. You're a doctor because you're supposed to become a doctor to get a salary and build a house, marry a wife. You're not a lawyer because you're supposed to make your country more just. You're a lawyer because you're supposed to get rich clients.
Of course.
You're a banker because you're supposed to make money, not create wealth in your nation. You're actually extracting the wealth, So these are the things that we need a true people's movement to create. And when I see Nigerians being hoodwinked by their true class enemies, nothing pains me that much. Especially when those class enemies come to disguise themselves. In some way or another as something different from what they are. That's why I told you that Russia plays the game, but I respect Russia's game. We are Putin, we are the oligarchs, we run this country.
They're open.
We are on one side, we are against Don't come and deceive us with this democracy shit. We are this, we are that, we are believing. Come on, man.
I do agree with that 100%. But I'm going to come to, because I saw where you were going to when you mentioned trying to pretend as if you're something you're not. But coming to this issue of the election, why is it that despite all the stuff we saw on social media, all the gra-gra, all the online, will I say, bullying and all that, I think you experienced it as well. Why do you think we still had a poor voter turnout of 27%? So we had 98 million registered to vote and only 25 million cast their votes. That was so poor. Online 27%. But you had all this online politics, all these bloggers, but this shows you that Twitter.
Nigerians are truly waiting for something. That whatever the noise is, it was just noise. It really wasn't inspiring anybody. Because as you said, we have 98 million registered voters, right?
Yes.
So there's a silent majority.
Exactly.
That is waiting to be
awakened. Exactly.
And that is the number I'm looking for. That's why I tell people that there's no rigging of a people's movement, a true people's party, that does the on-ground work, not only the online work. The tsunami of numbers cannot be stopped. Just the way Buhari was able to usurp PDP's hegemony. The people will also usurp the hegemony of the elites in this country one day. But they are not stupid. That's the thing. Many people think Nigerians are stupid. You want to call a dog a monkey for them. They will sit down in their house. At the end of the day, they will sit down in their house, So it is not for me. It is not about, we are not really playing, as I said, only the AAC. But Nigerians, I don't know how they're able to do it. It's the power of the media. When you can control the narrative, the way the billionaires of Nigeria, and all over the world. I don't want Nigerians to believe this rhetoric, like we are some kind of specially evil people, or we are just behaving in the level of our development. But this phenomenon that we experience is global.
Yes.
Murdoch owns 80% of the world's media. One man.
Yeah. Washington Post, Fox
everything.
News.
You want to go to CNN and say what Ted Turner doesn't want to hear? Come on, it's not going to happen. The moment the world decided that the narrative of the world can be owned by a few set of people that decide what is headline news and what is back page news, we decided to hand over the reach, our power and our voice,
Yeah, sorry, Jeff Bezos owns Washington Post.
Yes.
Murdoch owns Wall Street Journal.
Murdoch is even the biggest. He owns 80% of global media.
I think he owns Sky News at some point.
He owns Sky. He's still BSB, Sky BSB.
Oh, yeah.
News of the World. Okay, they had to shut that down.
Yes.
The Sun, all those shit.
Yes.
Yeah, so their influences, and this is the same in Nigeria, where who watches NTA?
Tinubu
Who watches NTA?
Nah, nobody.
Exactly. So these politicians and big wigs have completely cornered the entire information. All your biggest bloggers and influencers are in their pockets. They decide what is news. They decide what is what creates mass hysteria.
Yeah.
And it's always nothing that changes anything institutional.
But why do you think Nigerians can't see it? You mentioned AAC and Showore, who I love. I think when it comes, if you're looking for a pure candidate and you want to contrast him with P2B, for me, I believe that Showore is the man.
I don't want to say the elites.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course, P2B and the elites, that's what I mean. Yeah, like when you want to contrast, like who is the best option for Nigeria's redemption or for Nigeria to become a great country, I think Showore is the person to do. But why do you think that Nigerians cannot see it? Why do you think that what do you think of P2B first of all? And why do you think they were willing to go with P2B and not go for Showore?
Because, it's the failings of, our institutions have failed. So the religious institutions have failed, right? And once institutions fail, cult of personality fill that vacuum. So even in Christianity and Islam, religious institutions that control the nerve of this country, you find that it is not really the religion that inspires its followers. It is the men. It is the cult of personality of the men of God in those religions, the Adeboyes, the Oyedepos, whatever Sheikh and Imam, Gumi, and all these personalities. They are the ones that people follow. Even when they do things that are an anathema to their religious dogma, the followers don't follow. That's how you know that the religion doesn't matter. It is the cult of personality. So from religion, in the media world, the so-called influencers, and so people follow individuals, and these individuals take orders from certain people. When you can no longer believe in your own education, when the educational institution has failed the way ours have failed, to the level that even a dean of law is forcing children to give his own children to give him blowjob. And this man is supposed to teach people how to be just. Then you wonder why lawyers come out in Nigeria and can't. Anyway, that's another thing entirely. Yeah. So when these institutions have failed like this, you find that cults of personality take over. So even in the political space, people become articulate,
Baptists.
Batified, obedient. It's not as if their candidates are a part of them. They become, So, and these people can now, when people no longer have institutions that tell them the truth, this is mortgaged to certain individuals who now have their own personal interests, who can, make the truth, have different shades. So this is why Nigerians, many Nigerians cannot afford to be online like many of us and stay and really investigate things, or there are no libraries. So they read headlines. They look at one page on Instagram with one headline, and everybody is forming their opinions from that. And when Showore is not in this kind of conversation, the masses of the people do not really know what it's about. And anytime he's in the conversation, just like me, he's giving a certain aura or image or energy that is off-putting.
He can't win. He just
You know,
silence, yeah.
That is just the way in America they say, "Oh no, don't forget the Green Party or the People's Party. Don't take away votes from it." So all these narratives that oppressors and elites are able to feed the world through the media that they also own and control. You understand? So you can understand that, but that does not mean that it can still not be usurped.
Of course.
This is why I'm working very hard to get the MOP up and running, because we cannot sit here and give these excuses when I know that Nkrumah liberated Ghana without email. Did not even have email. He had to write every letter by hand and post it and wait for it to get there. How many flights were in Accra? There are no planes that time, in no local airport. You have to go by road, trek, take canoe, and they still did the work to liberate a nation. But we sit down here with all the tools at our disposal and we give all kinds of reasons why, but slowly we will get, and it is also not a critique. Let me not say I'm criticizing us that we are too lazy. Nah. It is just because, African leadership has always been attacked by global leadership. So we don't have blueprints to build upon. For example, in Nigeria, none of the political parties that fought for our independence, that they didn't fight for our independence, that gained our independence for us, no longer exist. So those platforms, those blueprints are not there. You go to America, the Republican Party is how many 100 years old? The Democratic Party is how many? So they're able to build, grow. The platform is there. Young politicians. Yes. Exactly. But every time we have to start afresh. Start afresh. But that is not enough reason to give up. We are also not given the tools by our education. You go to school, what do you learn about your independence? Nigeria was in 1960. Nigeria gained independence. The first president was first prime minister. These highlights kind of education. Where we don't really understand what we've been through to be where we are. So we are repeating historical mistakes again in the present just because we don't know we've done these things before and it didn't work. So...
No, I do agree 100%. I mean, for me, whenever I look at we're going to come to MOP later because I think that's critical to what we need for Nigeria to get better. We're going to come to it. But looking at, trying to contrast it with the obedient movement, right? And what's, in my opinion, I think for all the good that the movement brought, I also think it had a lot of negatives as well. I also think that the movement did not help P2B at all in a major way. I think the online bullying we saw, I think the fact that
it was orchestrated.
And it was is the fact that they don't understand that in politics, you need numbers, you need addition. When you're bullying someone or when they come and bully you or your daughter, right, you don't feel the desire to support them. I don't know if you get my point.
It worked for most Nigerians. Yeah, but many people were bullied into supporting.
But I think what some Nigerians do, that they just keep quiet. You know what? You guys are attacking me. I'll just keep quiet. I'm not gonna vote because it's obvious from the numbers. The bullying did not work. You didn't bully me and they came and voted for your man. They didn't. So all the bullying was in vain. All the online gra, all the trying to cajole, trying to insult. You're insulting people's family members because they just critique one or two things with P2B. And for me, I always tell them, you're always trying, in politics, it's all about addition and multiplication. You're not trying to subtract. You want to add people. Like you were saying about MOP, you want to gain a movement, a following. The last thing you want is to do something that will make people be like, oh, we don't want MOP. What you want is, come join us, come join this movement. But with the obedience, it's like, we can do it by force. We'll force you, you must submit. If you don't submit, we'll call your father's name, we'll call your mother's name, we'll call your innocent 2-year-old or 3 or 7-year-old. So what do you think what do you think of this movement, and what do you think it became or it morphed into?
No, I don't think it morphed into anything. I think it was the strategy from the get-go. Okay. He came late on board, so I think they chose a quite aggressive internet approach, and they were willing to bank their campaign on that. The internet realm is really not. It is at the end of the day virtual reality. No human being I heard this and that stuck with me, that no human being evolved to know what 10,000 people think about you at once, positive or negative. Either way, it is hurting you. If you are getting feedback from 10,000 people about what they think about you, you are not supposed to know this. Your brain cannot take this. So either way, whether it is positive feedback, it is damaging you. If it is negative feedback, it is still damaging you.
That's deep.
You know? So the question I always ask, if anybody says anything, if I see any comment or some post about me, like, if I did not have this internet thing now, would I have seen this thing or heard this thing? If the answer is no, I try to just remove it from my mind, because that means I'll not experience it in my reality.
Yes.
I will not see this person in my life, because if it wasn't for this Instagram, I wouldn't have seen you.
Yes.
Or if it wasn't for this Facebook or this. So if I want to forget you, I just have to close the app.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, but I think because of people's egos and how it has become toxic really in our oppressive society, where we really have oppressors to look up to, you know, people's egos here are really fragile, and they care a lot about what every single person thinks about them, and they want to be good in everybody's eyes. And I think when you want to really be good in everybody's eyes, it means it's because you are actually terrible to yourself. Like when you look at yourself, you don't really like yourself, you don't like what you see. Maybe you've done something to yourself, you've traumatized yourself. I don't mean people, when people traumatize you, it's different. But when you compromise yourself in a certain way to achieve certain things, so I see many of our influencers and celebrities are in this box where they've compromised themselves in certain way, they've mortgaged their humanity in certain ways, and they don't like what they see in the mirror anymore, you know. So now we are on a mission where everybody has to reaffirm my positivity or my goodness so everything is a show, you know, to show that I'm just better than everybody. I'm good. So this is the world of the internet, especially in Nigeria. So these people find it like a duty that everybody must like them, you know. So, and I think that is a failing. And that's how many people were bullied, you know, in this election circle, you know. And politics, if we are going to liberate ourselves in peace, because we still have the option. And this is what I'm telling everybody, you know. I talked about institutions failing, so now people are relying on cults of personalities. And those are definitely doomed to fail. So when people now lose trust in those personalities as well, it means people will now take power into their own hands, you know. And when people are not politicized and they decide to engage with power without being politicized, that is when the mob action happens, and then we are all not safe, you know. That's why I live in the same neighborhood I grew up in, because I am afraid of mob action. I want the mob to recognize me. You know, because I'm going to join them. You know, there are a few houses which I want to loot. I've been eyeing them.
So when it happens, you can.
I'll just blend in. You know. So we as a people don't understand the dangers of that. NSAS, you know, was a good. How would I put it? Was a little highlight of what could go wrong when the people rise up based on their own emotions, which are not politicized, you know. So for me, that's why I do what I do with MOP, because I want to be able to shield us as a nation, as a people. Africans we've suffered too much already. We've been through too much. When are we not tired of the bloodshed, of the dying, so why are we? What is in us really that has made us mortgage our humanity so much that we don't take our own lives seriously, that we don't see, like we will see it, and this is what is crazy. It's not as if we don't know that we are in danger. Every single Nigerian knows that this thing is a big possibility. I'm not safe. We all know that we are not safe, and we just don't give a damn. I don't understand the programming that you will know you are not safe and not care just because at night you can go and drink. The right to self-destruct has suddenly become, the freedom to self-destruct has suddenly become our ultimate goal. You can see this whole protest about Mohbad right now is just because nobody wants to address their own shortcomings. All the praising that they've been praising these bullies online, beat Rugged Man up online, everybody's hailing them, beat this one, film it, slapping people every day online, filming it, everybody's hailing them until it happens to who they like. Okay, now there's problem.
I mean, it's crazy. Let's talk about Mohbad because I didn't know him personally, but I knew his music. So when we all saw what happened to him, and I listened to him, I was like, oh, this is the guy that sang this. I was like, wow. And then we all saw the videos that came out where he was beaten, the video of him in the hospital.
This guy, before he died, he was complaining. He went to police station. All these same fans that are shouting now knew what was happening. It was not a secret. He didn't hide it. These videos are not new videos. They've been posted before. In fact, it grew the popularity of the perpetrators of the act against him. Wow. So what we are doing right now is that we are trying not to, how would I put it? Look at the roles that we played, the monsters that we made. I said it in my live yesterday that we created a monster and we complain when the monster starts monstering. You can't turn a monster to a pet.
I mean, for me, it's like the industry failed to protect him. The industry failed him. That's the way I see it. The music industry failed Mohbad.
Society as a general. He went to police station. He didn't go to P-Man office. He didn't go to P-Man office to report the matter.
Yeah.
He went to police station.
Yeah.
Abi? So that's society right there. Also engaged, involved.
So for me, it's sad to see. It's really sad. But going back to this the issue of politics.
No, but we cannot engage with violence, with people that preach violence, and then we complain that some violent things happen. It is either, there's no gray area when it comes to violence. It's either you want violence,
or you just want it,
or you don't want violence. Finish. But we know that in this Nigeria, many of the people we celebrate are some of the most violent people in the world. And we see that as some kind of strength. My father, for example, we had tons of boys living in this house. But my father will never say, oh, go and beat up my neighbor because I don't like this guy, or he says, no. Everybody knew that the boys of Kalakuta were a protective force of our community. Only when people came to do something bad, okay, the boys will protect. So I don't understand how, we as African people, we think we are Europeans or Americans. We don't even understand that those violent American music that we think that we like is sold to us by people that are our enemies. That it is the white establishment of the world that owns the corporations that decide what music. And the more these corporations have come to Africa, the more these American music companies have flooded into African music, the more violent our music has become.
It's true.
The more violent our youth have become. We can't see it as plain as it has did that they've brought a blueprint that they've used to destroy our cousins in Europe and America. And now that we too are able to raise our heads more, they have brought it here. But we think we are being cool. And we now call it, they say it's the culture. That's what annoys me. If a white man wears agbada, does that make him an African person?
No, it doesn't.
You are using African music to glorify European behavior and European goods and European materialism, and you say it's African culture. All the video is full of Gucci symbols, Mercedes symbol, LV. These are the symbols now. Symbols is culture. You give some African tokenism. How many times in this world do you think, sing about killing a cat, and who is going to play it on the radio? They'll say you're a mad person, a deranged human being. Look at what the Premier League did to Zuma because he kicked his dog. But police can beat a black man to death and they will justify and excuse it. There was no excuse Jacob Zuma could give about that dog.
None.
Even though he said the dog eats his 10,000 pounds. They will say, how dare you?
He lost playing time. Some sponsors dropped him. Man, it was big. The backlash was massive.
But you can sing about killing black people, and these same people that are insulting Jacob Zuma, Zuma, yes, will put the song on the radio and give you awards, give you contracts, and give you endorsements all over the place. Presidents will invite you. You sit down with dignitaries. So what do you now want young people to do? When they see this person that is talking about how he's a criminal, talking about how he's killing people, sitting around with the people that control the world. What do you want? You want the young man not to dream about sitting with the people controlling the world? Then you now blame him when he's acting like you have endorsed. Of course, yeah. You know,
if you encourage him to act that way. So
if people don't respect us, when will we start respecting ourselves?
Exactly.
So just because people are willing for us to act as our base selves, you know, the degrading of African women, acting as if all African women can be bought. You buy her a bag, she lose her mind. You know, like all African women must succumb to the materialism that men can provide. And if you cannot provide this, you are not a man. You know, this toxicity, where the kindness, generosity, understanding, the emotional intelligence of people are no longer considered why they should be good partners or good mates to the opposite sex. You know, all our women have to do BBL, you know, to have value in the eyes of our men who can now buy that BBL woman some Gucci, and it's ridiculous, this narrative that is pushed amongst us.
Of course.
You know?
Of course. I mean,
what do you bring to the table? A listening ear, motherfucker. Must it be, you know, they've so capitalized black love.
Yeah, yes.
And black relationships in general.
Yes.
That if capital is not playing a role in some way, that love is not valuable real. And is a waste of time.
Yeah. It's all about money, it's all about what you buy, what you're wearing, how you.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, staying on this election.
But Bill Gates' wife and Jeff Bezos' wife just divorced them.
Exactly.
So I mean, can't we see? It's like when all these rich men, all these elite are telling you that there's no problem, but they all have bunker under their house. So I'm asking the Jeff Bezos and the Bill Gates and the Elon Musk and all the people that they're telling us that they are moving this world forward. Yeah. Why do you have bunker? Why are you building 25-year bunker protection unit under your house? Yeah. What's going on? Are you telling me something? Do you know something I don't know? Yeah. But this is the funny thing. They will be in that bunker. We all come in there. They are building it for everybody.
When it happens, the bunker won't even be safe for them anymore.
And the worst thing is, you see, this is why I say that even because when you dehumanize people, you dehumanize yourself. Yeah. As much as they dehumanize us, they've also forgotten their humanity. Do they think that they can survive with just their friends and family for 20 years in a closed space? I mean, they will kill themselves in there.
Life will be boring, and
they will kill themselves. I mean, if human beings wanted to be isolated, we will not develop language.
Yes.
The reason why we talk is because you want to interact, you want to mingle.
Of course.
You want people to know exactly how you are feeling. You know?
I mean, when you talk about when we look at how we solve, which is what we're talking about, how do you solve this issue of Nigeria, right? Do you think we can get it right by this top-down approach, which is what most people think we can do? Okay, elect a good president, suddenly Nigeria will become great. Elect P2B, everything will become nice. Or do you think that rather than doing that, and I've heard you talk about this on your life as well, let's do a bottom-up approach. Look at your councillors, look at your LG chairman or chairwoman, look at your State House of Assembly members, look at your governors. That's where the solution has to start from. And when we can solve it at that level, because when we look at Nigeria is this, what is Nigeria? 36 states. If you solve those 36 states, Nigeria becomes great. But if you're looking at, let me just solve the presidency and not recognize that your state governor has a lot of power, your local government chairman, your councillor, is more powerful because he's the one that can know whether you're going to take your refuse dump away from your house. He's the one that can tie your local road. If you cannot solve those ones, it's going to be difficult for you to solve the top.
Mm-hmm. The problem with that space is, and I mentioned this a lot in Nigerian professionals, right? So we are divided into many different industries and sectors in the economy of Nigeria. What we do in these spaces is that we use our talents, as I said, instead of development, for self-enrichment. And if you're about self-enrichment, you have to align yourself with the elites. So what does it mean that Nigeria is good to some people? It means things are working for them. So I'm asking anybody, when has Nigeria ever been good? Because right now, the way we are clamoring as if we are trying to go back to something that we had before. That's why I hear people say, oh, military era. The military should come back. When the military was there. Are you mad? What was it good for?
Exactly.
Yeah. So there's always a section in society that whatever is happening is benefiting them. And for them, that is when Nigeria is good. Nobody ever remembers the masses of our people that Nigeria has never represented, that has never been good to, that we, the professionals that have come from within them, have become class traitors, who have advanced from within this class and forgotten where we've come from. Instead, we are preoccupied with reaching and sitting down with the elites, regardless of the consequences of our actions to our people. This is why I'm telling everybody that there's no excuse that will save you from the mob if you are a Nigerian. Because if it comes to that, if you say, I'm not a politician, I'm just a banker, you are the one laundering money. You will collect. I'm just a lecturer, you collect. I don't even need to say. I'm a journalist, you collect. Any industry you collect. Because we have aligned ourselves exclusively to the interests of the oppressors of this country. The poor people of Nigeria, right, are too poor to know what is going on in this country. They feel it, they go through it, but they cannot articulate it because they cannot afford the spare time to even study their situation. Yes. We are supposed to be the ones to study it, and that is why they elevate us. That is why your poor mother in the village has the instinct to send you to university so you can solve the problem of your community. You understand? Let's elevate ourselves from the situation that we are in. But you diminish yourself, you elevate yourself, you take your mother out, and you leave everybody else. And that's what we all do. But it's not working. Because obviously not enough of us can lift ourselves and our family.
Of course.
At the end of the day, we live just ourselves till we are 50, 60, and everybody falls back down. Yeah. We, as the professionals of Nigeria, must begin to build the platforms and the bridges to our people. We are the catalysts that this nation needs. Because we have the talent and the numbers and also the power to lift our people up through our actions. So when lawyers become more just, and bankers become more honest, and engineers engineered a good community and society, and teachers teach the truth and actually want to educate and not indoctrinate children. When we don't succumb to the pressures of the oppressor in our workplace, and we cannot do this alone. That's why we need to come under certain organizations. That's why we must organize ourselves. Because if we do it alone, you will lose.
You need leadership, you need a movement.
That's why you need organization, basically. 100%. But Nigerian professionals rather organize Arsenal fan club. The amount of Arsenal fan club we have in Nigeria alone, that is thriving. Thousands of members. They pay dues. But these same people will never organize politically to change institutions and pay their dues to that institution so that institution can function. to help us achieve the nation that we want to see. So I believe that everything still boils down to those of us that the ancestors have blessed. And we don't know why the ancestors have blessed us. We think it's so that we can go and buy white man things. And then when tragedies happen to us, we don't know why. Because our blessings enough for us to go and stuff our face and our cheeks and turn to gluttons. The ancestors have helped certain African people achieve certain comforts within the global oppression that we go through, so that we can uplift our people. We as Africans are the only group in this world that are not invited to the table for anything in this system that we operate, that we all swear allegiance to. A system that sold your ancestors, that colonized your nations. So when I see African capitalists and black capitalists, I'm so amazed at how you are so detached from yourself, that you embrace your worst enemy like is your God. You know, we are children of sacrifice. There's nothing we've done in this system that our ancestors did not pay by blood for us to do. Is it to vote, to go to school, for us to own our own homes, even in our own country? What do you think boys' quarters was? Is where the black people are allowed to go in the building. In our own country. That's what we call the back house, boys' quarters. We're always boy, no matter 60 years old. So boy. Come on, boy.
Never even knew that, honestly. I never knew that was the meaning of boys' quarters. I even used to use that language up to today. That language
use it up to today, yeah, of course.
BQ, that's wrong.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, you're a boy. Even though 70 years old, boy. Because you cannot truly be, you're black, you're too stupid to really grow up. Yeah. And we act the same way. They program us to act the same. So you see an African man today, he's 60 years old, he's still chasing the same dreams he had as a teenager. To build house, to fuck all the girls, to buy car, to marry, to make the same dreams. I mean, and when your ambitions don't change, it means you really didn't grow.
Of course.
You understand?
Yeah.
Mark Zuckerberg makes $1 billion. He wants to rule the world. We have Nigerian billionaires. They want to rent Onassis ship and do cruise. Who here knows? I'm telling you, who here knows how Bill Gates or Elon Musk did their last birthday party? Who knows? You can't know, because they are concentrating on ruling the world. That is true freedom. When you are able to be truly free and you are rightly educated to grow in your mind. But when you are infantilized by a system that you swear allegiance to, and you know in your heart that system is also against you, a system that stops you from achieving your full potential. So you can't use billion well. I'll say it anywhere. You can't use it well. In fact, the billions will make you more depressed. Because when you now buy, you now have everything. Nothing you buy will bring you happiness again. Because you've bought everything. You'll now be even more depressed than when you were poor. That's how you see all our rich Africans acting so crazy. It's depression. They've done everything, money, their goal and ambition has now been met. You know, when your ambition must be boundless. At least in positivity, Sha.
Of course, yes.
Not all this Western style ambition that is just boundless in negativity. I'm telling you, it's crazy.
No, I do agree with what you said. I mean, you talked about capitalists, you talked about Dangote and Elumelu. When you think of these guys, when you think of them, what comes to you? Because for me, the way I look at capitalism, and I know you don't agree with this, but I would like to know your thoughts. When I look at capitalists like Dangote and Elumelu and Otedola, in my opinion, those guys have done a lot for Nigeria. In the sense that they've employed lots of people. So, for example, Dangote Refinery employs, we can argue about the Indians and the expatriates they employ. I know that can be a good argument to make. But at the same time, thousands of Nigerians work in that refinery. Talk about Elumelu and UBS, for example. In UBA, the bank, lots of Nigerians work there. So in their own little way, as private individuals, they are trying their best in their own little way to solve what they can solve. So but what would you say? What would your pushback? I know you always talk about this guy. What would your pushback be to the argument of the capitalists in Nigeria and in Africa? Yes, they're making a lot of money. They're not paying their staff very well in some cases, but you can argue that slightly They are uplifting some families. These are Nigerians who would have.
This is what I'm just telling you that the problem has been with Nigerians. Some families. What ratio of Nigerian families are these? Which of these big wigs employ 200,000 Nigerians? Full-time employment. Do you know how many people Bill Gates employs directly? Do you know how many people Elon Musk? Thousands.
Millions of.
Let me know. I'm not even speak about this. Europeans, because if they are doing it, does that mean we should do it too? That's the first question we should even ask. So let's speak to ourselves directly. To whom much is given, much is expected. Right?
Yeah.
During Obasanjo's tenure, he promised to create these guys because of the neoliberal trickle-down economics argument that when you compile money in the hands of these rich people, they will in turn spread it into different sectors of society. Where are they spreading it? So until they are not investing, because we don't need investment, until they are developing healthcare, education, transportation, the environment, housing. If they are not investing into these things in a way that the people can access it, that is not returning money to their pocket tomorrow, then they are doing nothing. They have not done anything. They invest in our commonwealth in themselves and doing charity. We don't want charity. We want the strengthening of our institutions. Look at Harvard. The endowment fund for Harvard University alone is $65 billion. $65 billion. What is the budget of Nigeria?
Even Yale University as well.
I say, I don't want to count on that one. Yeah. Don't kill us. Harvard alone is 65 billion. Nigerian budget last year was 40 billion. The whole Nigeria. Right? So, what are we saying here? Where is the investment? Those endowment funds is not from tax money. It's not the government. This is what I'm letting you know. Because there's an agreement in this trickle-down economics that they do in America. So if we're copying that, where is that investment into education like Harvard has? Because that's the only one American rich people do because their children go there. Yes. So that's why we cannot be like them. Because we're not thinking of only the things that our children need and access. It's what everybody needs in society. So what about healthcare? Where is their investment in that field? Where are the Nigerian pharmaceutical companies, big pharma that are actually developing drugs that are healthier than European drugs based on our own African understanding of what? Where is the investment in R&D from these people? Their cement and their banking and everything is the worst in the world, has been stagnant forever. The telecommunication bigwigs that have made billions from the licenses Nigerians have given them to use the infrastructure that we built with our own money, because it's Nitel infrastructure that they are keying into. Whatever it is anybody is saying, at the end of the day, where's the investment in that, in the research and development that is engaging young Nigerians to build and expand these networks? Are we satisfied with the phone services? Are we satisfied with the so-called banking services? How many Nigerians can afford Dangote cement, knowing fully well it is the most expensive cement in the world? If Dangote didn't exist, are you trying to say that Nigerians will not be able to process limestone to cement for themselves, something that is in our ground? It is our commonwealth. Banking is our pool of money. It's a commonwealth business. So these people are only interested in gatekeeping our commonwealth for their own personal benefit. I don't see how they are reinvesting in the same society that has given them all they have. In fact, Dangote himself said it in Bloomberg in 2019, I think 2020, that 65% of his wealth is in foreign banks. So what is this employment you're talking about? They employ just enough to keep their wealth, to keep their extraction going.
No, I do agree with you. Just for me, just the way I look at it, I'm like, in some way we need entrepreneurs, which is what people like these are.
The Jews were the most entrepreneurial people in Europe on the eve of World War II. Did it save them from the atrocities of the Nazis?
But look at what they're doing now.
I'm asking you, did it save them? What they're doing now is still because the fascists that killed them allowed them to do it. We don't want to be allowed. We want to claim our humanity. I'm just saying that if we say that entrepreneur, so the Jews now, is it entrepreneurship they are using to be what they are?
I think so.
No, it is the power of Israel.
But it works in both ways, right? So, for example, let's look at their intelligence network and the development of.
It's subservient. It is subservient to the intelligence network of the United States.
You can but not completely.
Completely.
I don't think so.
The Mossad cannot sneeze if the United States do not approve of it.
No, I don't think so. I think the Mossad. I think you, of course, you need the CIA, for example, right? The CIA, of course, 100%.
Listen to me.
But the point I'm trying to make
I'll tell you again.
Yeah. If
the Mossad sneezes without the United States government say so,
I think from what I've read in reports, right, the Mossad that they've carried out operations even without the CIA knowing about it.
Please. That report you've read. That report you said is the biggest propaganda in the world.
I don't think Israel needs America's approval to carry out some actions.
What are you saying, fam? This is the propaganda. It is not the fact.
So for Israel, for Israel to kill the Iranian guy they killed.
Of course, America must have approved of it. I mean, what are you saying? This is the biggest.
So even when it goes against America's interests.
What is going against America's interests?
For example, what Mohbad did last week, giving Iran $5 billion.
Yes.
And releasing those American prisoners, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Israel sees Iran as an enemy. I would imagine they're not happy with Biden giving Iran $5 billion.
Yes, but Biden is giving Iran $5 billion and doing that to try and reopen the nuclear deal.
They don't want that. Israel doesn't want. No, Israel doesn't want that. I think the point I was trying to make with Israel is that Israel sees herself as being in an existential battle, right? And even if she wants to do something that America doesn't approve of, so long as that thing that she wants to do is good for herself as a country, I don't think they will.
America approves. Okay. Don't worry about it. America definitely approves, but they have to spin. They have to spin the propaganda because America at the same time has to pretend like they are the upholders. They are the world's moral police, the defenders of justice. So how can they be seen openly supporting injustice even if they are the ones that have supported and planned and enabled the injustice to happen in the first place? It is their responsibility to come out and tell the world, oh, we didn't know anything about it, and in fact, we did everything in our power to stop it. You know, Israel is happy to play the bad guy in the Arab region on behalf of the United States.
Let's talk about education. I mean, one of the authors, I brought this book, your favorite author, Paulo Freire.
He's not my favorite author, but
one of your favorites.
Yes.
I read it, and you mentioned him a lot in your life. And according to him, he says education is freedom. And in Nigeria, as we talked about briefly, our system of education is rotten. I mean, we talk about one of the things I struggled when I went to the UK for my studies is that my first 2 years was a struggle. Because in Nigeria, when I went to uni in Nigeria, you're taught to just, if the lecturer tells you that A is A, in the exam, tell him that A is A. Don't tell him that A could be B, A could be C, or A could be something else. Just tell him that this is what he taught you in class. But in the UK system, it's entirely different. Western societies is a whole different ballgame. You have to critique, you have to analyze, you have to ask questions, you have to tell the lecturer, how did you get to the point where A is now A? Or how A could become B. So for me, that system is one of the reasons why I believe Nigerians struggle. Because if you can't criticize or analyze issues deeply, if you can't sit back and research and ask yourself questions of how did we get to where we are? How can we get ourselves out of this situation? Then I don't think you even get to where you want to be in the first place. So when we talk about education in Nigeria, how do you think that we can solve or redeem it or at least salvage it to a good point?
Well, I think this book explains that a lot in terms of how to fix education in Nigeria. That education in Nigeria now has to become Nigerian education. You understand what I mean? So an education that is exposing young people and young adults to the realities of their existence. Not what somebody somewhere feels they have to know, but what we as a community, a society, a nation have seen as our true lived experience. How do our children engage with those experiences, and how do they solve the problems of those experiences? You can go through school in Nigeria for 12 years, primary to secondary, you never hear injustice. That word, I never heard it in secondary school.
Me too, yeah.
Injustice. Nobody said it in mind. Yeah. Oppression. I never heard it. But it was our lived experience, it was our daily experience, going to school, police checkpoint, area boys this. When I was growing up, obtaining was the norm in Lagos. If you wear fine shoe last song, once boys see you, they go obtain. That was the word. It was the most important slang in Lagos when I was growing up. Obtain. So when people are not exposed to the issues of their society, how can they be prepared to confront them? How can they be prepared to save them, to solve them? And the fact that even in Nigerian universities, there's no Pan-Africanism as a course. You can't go to a Nigerian university and learn an Africanist course. There's no African studies course to become true Pan-Africanist in our own, to understand ourselves, to say I want to be a specialist in understanding but we have European history, European literature, all this nonsense that cannot help any African person truly solve African problems. We are being prepared to exist for Western ambition. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So the best job a Nigerian can have today is to work for Elon Musk, Apple,
Microsoft.
The fact that no Nigerian, no African ambition can lure anybody away from an offer from such people, you understand, is what our education prepares us for. That even our best athletes have no space in our. We can't engage with our best. The best Nigerian footballers, for example, hardly play for Nigeria. Maybe only Victor Osimhen is the only top world-class Nigerian footballer that are still chosen to play for the Super Eagles. Maybe because also he was born here and he didn't have the time to. Because every other person, every nation I watch, every big club has a Nigerian star that is not playing for Nigeria. That is playing for different country.
Saka, Arsenal,
and England.
Yeah.
Is it Alaba? Yeah. Real Madrid and Austria.
Yeah.
What is the reason of why look at France national team? Yeah. Why can't Africa even engage its own athletes? This is due to our educational system. The fact that we are educated by our oppressors who want to educate us to serve them, not to serve our nation. So these are the things that we as Nigerians must overhaul. The curriculum of our education, how our children are taught, how they are made to feel, in what languages they are taught. These are the different things that we have to build on. Create. That's why for me, it is exciting to imagine a new nation. What can be more exciting? It is, for me, how a generation chooses to be great. That we have this opportunity as Africans. Also, is what I mean. I think there's also a deliberate act by our oppressors to sieve the most stupid of us and then elevate them.
Yes.
So that people don't, and when you are following a stupid person, you don't see further than he sees.
Exactly.
7 divided by 0 is 7. BBN contender. They're going to give this person hundreds of millions. So why would young people want to learn anything? Yeah. I told my daughter, will I use algebra when I grow up? All these things. They're already hearing it on the internet. I'm saying it's not because you will solve algebra. This is to help you solve problems. Yes. You are training your brain to be able to solve problems.
Critique issues, solve complex problems.
So embrace it. It might not be the problem you will solve in your adult life, but your brain will be prepared to engage with complex issues. You understand? So, but when you are raising a generation of people that think that preparing their brain for this doesn't matter if there's a shortcut to get comfort, that is what we are, this is the kind of people that they elevate in our society. When you even ask the rich people in this country, billionaires, how have you made it? They cannot give you a structured breakdown of their growth. It's God. God is immediately inserted into all the illegalities and moral shortcomings that led to this billion. God must, but he asked Bill Gates the same thing, being a capitalist, he will start explaining his IPO, exactly, because he's a capitalist. We as Africans that claim capitalist, we are not a capital, we don't have capital. How can you be a capitalist without capital? Nigeria was rebased. I always give this example. In 2015 by Okonjo-Iweala.
Yes, that's true.
The whole Nigerian economy was 505 billion. And that 505 billion has now shrunk as we speak by 70%. Right? Apple alone is worth $1.7 trillion. Trillion. That's to Nigeria. That's all of us can. Apple can conveniently. Yes. Whatever we are doing in Nigeria, Apple can do it for all of us twice.
Of course.
Twice.
Yeah.
Apple can create a place with 2 Quilocks, 2 Aso Rock.
2 government houses each for each state. And they have cash reserves. So
listen.
They have cash reserves. Like cash on hand they can touch, they can use.
Listen. Yeah. So when we are playing a game that we're already losing and thinking that we are doing something, so our education has to enlighten young people to these things and prepare them for this world. And the only way for you to prepare them for this world is to make them Afrocentric, to see solutions within themselves, to train them to solve our own unique issues. When we are still learning in our schools that Mary Slessor stopped the killing of twins. What kind of education is this?
Or that this guy discovered...
Mungo Park discovered River Niger. How? If you know that you want to train your children to think that they are too stupid to discover something, how can Mungo Park discover a river he met us swimming inside?
That was there for generations.
No. You met me in the river. I was swimming. My sister is washing clothes there. But you discovered it.
Fetching water and everything.
How did you discover it? Yeah. You discovered it for the Europeans.
The Westerners, yeah.
We can't even teach our children that little nuance.
Yes. Yeah, those nuances.
How Africans helped him map and chart the entire river. Yeah. His brother died in the journey. It was Africans that had to help him. He got lost how many times? Ogawan people, Lolo. So you now have to go and educate yourself about these things that give you pride in your ancestors and in yourself automatically. That shows you that your ancestors were not swinging from trees and being savages, as your own education taught you. That, we are doing great things. I'm capable of great things. I'm capable of solving complex issues. Even in Nigeria today, anything complex, they go and call expatriates. Poor African people have to see rich white Europeans living in their country solving problems. You are building road, bridge, you see Europeans there. It's an image. It's an education. Because society educates. Education is not only in the 4 walls of the schools. There's the informal education that we give one another. The unwritten rule and unwritten codes of society, which is even more powerful than the written ones.
That goes to your consciousness, your inner being.
Any project, Igbo is there. You can't see black people doing it. We are too stupid. We are too not technically gifted. They don't want to say that it is the people that are extracting our commonwealth are not investing it in those things, not deciding to be big and grow and extend beyond your comfort zone. Yeah. Is it by force that you must sell only things that we dig out of the ground or where we donate all our money? Is that the only business that is there? Who is going to be ambitious and start building to create things in this country? Begin to research and develop and invest their so-called billions in it for the betterment of it. Is this country that they are not Bill Gates and Elon Musk. Where's their Microsoft and Tesla? Where's their Apple?
The Amazon, yeah.
Where's their Amazon? What have they added to this country? They are not the same, but they want to behave like these people. So in order for us to be distracted, we too must be programmed to be behaving like those people and think it's our natural state. Because if we know that we are not the same, maybe what we need to do will also be different. We won't be behaving mad like we are watching on TV, thinking it is how everybody must behave.
Yeah. No, I do agree. Let me just talk briefly on this. We've seen what's been happening in Africa. April 28, 2021 in Chad, in Mali, May 24th, Guinea, September 5th, Sudan, October 25th, Burkina Faso, September 30th, Niger, just 2-3 months ago, July 26th, Gabon, August 30th. Obviously, what's going on in all these 7 countries is the recent coups. What do you think is happening? Why now? In the past two years plus, 7 coups already.
It's just the way the whole of Africa became democratic in less than 18 months in 1999.
Yeah.
It's just the way all of Africa became suddenly independent between 1960 and 1962. 1963, sorry. Because the people that supply the arms that make these things happen are deciding to go to a new phase.
Yeah.
And they need certain kind of ways the system should be to assist the new phase. America is the bastion of neocolonialism, and I don't want to point fingers or say anything. I've said enough about it in my life already. I don't want to go back. But if you look, the one country that is not criticizing any of these schools is the United States.
Even though they criticize the Niger own seriously, though, they didn't criticize the Gabonese own.
Niger? Yeah, America is the only country that did not close the embassy in Niger.
No, but they criticized, this woman, Victoria Newland. She came to is it Niger? Yeah, she came to Niger. Yeah.
Exactly.
And asked them to return democracy.
Democracy,
yeah.
But America has a military base there.
Yeah, of course.
Their embassy did not close down there.
Yeah.
The biggest drone base out of the United States is here in Niger. So, for me, I see this as neocolonial steps. Where we the people, we the professionals of Nigeria, we the educated, we have failed our people. And they continue to distract us to think that we are moving forward while failing our people. So that they can always bring those boys that they have trained to come and do our job for us. So when now instead of us to be ashamed that the military is coming back in Africa, we are claiming that it's the military that we need. A group that runs without constitution, that runs with decree, that we need tyranny and dictatorship. When you have been programmed in your brain that you are subhuman and you believe it, you truly believe that you need somebody to come and beat sense into you.
Yeah.
You understand? The way they were flogging the slaves in the plantation to pick cotton faster. If you don't whip Africans, they don't learn. They are monkeys, they are animals. So in the missionary schools all over Africa, training your first doctors, your first lawyers, your first professors, your first clerks that's what they flog them. So they say that's how you learn. Africans need hard hand. Africans need strong hand. With strong man leadership. That's the excuse they gave from 1960 to 1999. We've done 23 years again now. We need strong hand again. Because why? Because people like me, people like you, they can see that young Africans, as much as they are investing in our distraction, we are seeing the light. So how do you stop people like me, people like you from now getting to power, really? Because we are going to get there.
Yes.
They don't have the numbers to stop these great ideas coming out of Africa today,
100%.
from young Africans, from young African politicians who are seeing a different narrative than the West has been sending to us all this time. How did they stop you? By putting military there.
It's crazy. But the way I see it is, and I hope you're right, and I hope people in these countries, I hope they don't make the mistake of thinking or believing that by having the military, suddenly change will come.
They will learn.
But for me, that's just wrong, and that's just irony.
No, I think that because we have betrayed our ancestors in this generation, we have to pay for it. But what people sacrifice for us to have these freedoms and what we are doing with it is such a shame.
Yes.
Lives that have been destroyed, nameless millions of Africans that have died, standing up so that we can be where we are today. And then we go ahead, neither of us. There's no single street in Nigeria, in Lagos, called Lumumba Street, no Nkrumah Street, no Amilcar Cabral, nothing, no monuments, nothing. We have Jesus, we rather praise Bill Gates, we have Bill Gates Drive in Abuja. I mean, this senselessness Bill Clinton Drive. Oh my. Anyway, we have failed our purpose. Not we, Sha. Two generations before us have failed their purpose, definitely. But we are also on that path. Because as Frantz Fanon said, every generation has to identify. Each generation has a purpose. And each generation must identify that purpose and either choose to accept or betray it. And I think that we in general have chosen and happily to betray what we all know we should be doing. Telling ourselves lies like, oh, it is stupid to do that. You stupid, you go suffer. All those kind of excuses we give. Cowardly excuses to betray our true purpose here. Just so that we can drink expensive alcohol when we like, fly to European countries when we like, buy European things. If it was even for something, like if we are betraying ourselves for something, for some noble something, maybe we found something, a higher calling, I will understand. But we betray ourselves, we spit in our opportunities to be great, just so that we can drink and do some senseless things all day. I don't get it.
Well, I agree. Let's finish on MOP. I've seen the great work you've been doing. I mean, you've mentioned it a couple of times on this podcast already. What's the idea behind MOP? Do you do meet and greets? Do you go to universities?
We're planning now to do some university
outreach, newsletters.
We do newsletters. We do outreach.
Okay.
We do all these other things, but we also hold our meetings. MOP is not a rich movement, and hopefully we'll become a rich political party that we can rent different spaces all over Nigeria. We only have our headquarters right now. We used to have an office in Lagos too, but the landlord chased us out. We didn't default on rent. I think he didn't know what we were doing in the place. The day he found out that the place was MOP office, he found out on a Sunday. The Wednesday, he sent us quick notice. Anyway, so the MOP is a Pan-Africanist socialist organization that believes that power must come back to African people and to help raise the consciousness of the African people to understand their own need to grasp that power. I think that is what MOP is, because I truly believe that no nation can be above the consciousness of the collective consciousness of its people. The level that Nigeria is today is basically the level of our consciousness.
100%, yeah.
The more we raise our consciousness, the more we raise our nation. Yes. So if you look at America in the 40s and 50s under FDR, where the workers' movement was there, what was that FDR's vice name for his first 3 terms before he changed it to Truman, when the deep state were able to manipulate him. He had one guy, Henry Wallace. Okay. The whole workers' movement in America, coming out of the Great Depression, the consciousness of the people were high, and it led to many of the New Deal reforms that kept America going until now, that their consciousness have declined again to the level of Trump and Joe Biden and Obama and Bush. Yeah. And you can see the repercussion even in a country as organized as the United States. Yeah. The deep divisions that are bubbling to the surface, because the consciousness of the people have been deliberately, by their elites, reduced because they could no longer withstand the progressive urge of the American people. By the time it got to the 60s and the civil rights movement, it was seeping into Africa. I mean, anti-colonial movement. The consciousness of the world was high, and the oppressors of the world had to do a lot to dumb us down again, and they've kind of achieved it. But we as a people, understanding our own need to be humans, must never be too afraid to embrace our humanity, and what we know we deserve. Nobody should come and tell me I need to earn a living when I'm already alive. I've been born. I have the right to live and live with everything that means to live, and with the means to live. Nobody should corner what belongs to everybody as their own. If you want your own, go and create it. And we as the state, if it is useful, we will support it. You get your royalties. But what belongs to everybody, let it be for everybody. Yeah. This is not where you come and park your pack yourself, and deprive the people of what the things that they have been blessed with, to live dignified lives.
Yes.
The situation of slavery and colonialism did nothing if it did not remove the dignity of what it meant to be an African in this world. And for us to have had leadership since 1960 that has done nothing to restore this dignity shows us that we've never really been in power for ourselves. So that's what the MOP really is about, to raise the consciousness of the people to the level that we want our nation to be, and restore the dignity of African people.
Now I'm gonna put the account details in the link.
Oh, okay.
So that people can come, because I feel like one of the things that we Nigerians don't do is that we think that when election time comes, we just go and vote. We forget that there are so many things that you have to do.
No, but it's also as I said, the cult of personalities don't talk about election planning.
There are so many things that has to MOP.
Right now, we have to be distracted till 6 months. In 6 months' time, you see all the celebrities start talking about politics. Everybody will follow. After it's done, we rinse and repeat.
And the best way to do it is by supporting groups like yours. Contribute, no matter how much you're giving, you're helping enhance the cause or to make Nigeria great. So I think it's important that people keen in any little way possible to help this thing grow. But sir, I'm so grateful, honestly. I was telling my producer this morning that when Comrade Showore sent me, because I asked him for your number, and he sent me your number. I also asked him for other people's contacts as well. But I think it's a testament to your kind of person that in how many hours you got back to me, the rest didn't get back to me.
I was on tour when you messaged me. That's why it even took hours.
Well, honestly, you're a really amazing person. Honestly, I can't say much how happy I am and thankful that you gave me the opportunity. I was supposed to meet you in London, but we couldn't. We are so busy. Even today as well. You are so busy as well. I mean, you're a busy guy. But I'm really happy and I'm really grateful, honestly, from my heart. Thank you for making out the time.
My pleasure.
Thank you for bringing me to your family, and thank you so much. I'm so grateful.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Have a good one.